the Vice President of Nigeria, in the person of Kashim Shettima, has urged northern elders to resist any move of dividing Nigeria.
Wonderful people, viewers and subscribers, another update just dropped now from the excellent media house. My people, this one, the so-called Vice President of the Zoological Republic of Nigeria, named Kashim Shettima, said Trump is mumu man to even think of dividing Nigeria. As he went to Arewa Consultative Forum's meeting, he told them to resist anything, any plan or whatsoever of taking this country they have already, they have already packaged to become their own. That is what he told the northern elders. Say anything that will bring division in this country, say they don't accept them, because if they agree to it, that means they will never conquer this country called Nigeria again. Anyway, let me not waste much time, because they say time is money. Let me allow you to hear from the horse's mouth. We cannot divide Nigeria now. Shettima wants Trump to stay off anything that got to do with Nigeria. My brother, this one now, you don't pass, be careful. I swear, don't pass, be careful. Bola Ahmed Tinubu is working with Trump. Then Shettima, who is the vice and the chief commander of Boko Haram and terrorists, said they cannot work with Trump. Divided house. And any house that has been divided against itself can never stand. Okay, watch this clip, like it, share it, comment on it, and make sure you subscribe. Follow us on all our social media handles. As you're watching, there's also room for interjection. When that happens, please bear with us, because we are doing to serve you better. Oh yeah, let's go there if you don't mind.
Oh yes, what this simply means is that the Vice President is telling his brothers from the north not to agree to any option of dividing Nigeria. Whether the option is coming from a black man or a white man, whether it is coming from US or from Israel, whoever it might be, they should not agree. Now the question is why? Oh yes. Now if you remember, just a couple of months, the US Congress, still discussing on the issue of Nigeria, was suggesting that, see, it seems that the best way we can solve the issue of Nigeria is to go and divide Nigeria into two. Now, after that statement, so many northern elders frowned at that statement. And now, the Vice President is telling the northern elders not to agree to division.
Yes.
The question is, why? Please, I beg you to stay with me, because this is very, very interesting. Oh yes. Now, to the news, it says, let's see what it says. Resist moves to divide Nigeria, Shettima tells Arewa leaders. So you see it, that he told them to resist move. They should not agree to anything or any option of dividing Nigeria. Now, to the news improper, it says, let me zoom it so we can read it together. It says, the Vice President, Senator Kashim Shettima, has urged the Arewa Consultative Forum, ACF, to stand in solidarity with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's renewed hope agenda. All right, so Shettima is now campaigning for Tinubu, of course, his Oga at the top, telling his people, the Arewa Consultative Forum, to stand strong with the renewed hope, Tinubu's agenda. All right? According to him, there is no better time than now for the leaders of the North to stand together as one in support of efforts by the Tinubu administration to wrangle the nation out of the economic and social mirage it was hitherto immersed in. So, Shettima is telling his brothers from the North to please stand strong with Tinubu's administration, that it is now that they have to stand strong so that they can wrangle the nation out of economic and social morass. You can imagine a society that has been wrinkled already, they want to, wrangle it out. Anyway, let's see what he says further. It went further to say, Senator Shettima, in a statement by his spokesman, Stanley Nkwota, told members of the region's upper socio-cultural organization to resist the antics of a few mischief makers to fragment the unity of Nigeria. So you can imagine, even his spokesperson is an Igbo person, Stanley Nkwota. So through him, he was telling the leaders to please, avoid or resist antics of few mischief makers to fragment the unity of Nigeria. So he called those that are calling for the, disintegration of Nigeria, he's calling them mischief makers. It's all right. He went further to say, he distinguished greed and grievance as propounded by those he described as architects of modern conflict, observing that while some agitations arise from genuine grievances, seeking justice and fairness, others are fueled by greed, by the quest to exploit disorder for selfish gain. So he said that yes, there are actually, genuine grievances, but there are those that are fueling some, agitations just for their own selfish gain. Anyway, I don't know the one he's talking about, but according to him, that is what he said. He said the task before the Tinubu administration was to spot the difference between genuine grievance and greed, to embrace legitimate cause for equality and inclusion, and to isolate the forces that seek to profit from chaos. So he said that the task before them is to first of all spot those that are in genuine grievance, and then those that are not in genuine grievance, they will deal with them. That is what he simply meant. All right? So let's look at this part.
Let me also pause here to add to what my brother is saying here. You hear what Shettima said? He said, those that have grievance and those who do not have grievance. When they talk this one now, he will tell you that those who have grievance, just like what Gumi said, that the bandits in the north, they are only kidnapping children for money, they are doing business, that IPOB want to divide Nigeria. So now they will turn IPOB now those who have grievance and they will deal with you. Then those ones who are kidnapping and also buying people, they are not agitating for the division, no, they are just kidnapping and buying people and collecting ransom. So those ones, they don't have grievance. The only thing they want is just money and whatever, you understand? So you don't understand what they talk now. They still have pointing telling you that they are going to deal with you, even in the midst of never allow them to divide this country. They are still threatening they are going to deal with the Biafrans, which Shettima have made this comment on countless occasions. Let us continue.
It's just quite funny. We have proven time and again that our diversity is our strength, that our differences in tribe, faith, and geography are the very bricks that make this house of destiny we live in. It's all right. He said that our diversity is our strength.
Okay.
It's all right. He went further to say, this is why we must resist all attempts to divide or stir mischief among us. Our future depends on unity, and unity must remain our greed, he stated. The vice president assured the northern leaders that they are an integral part of the Tinubu-led federal government and that the administration is ready to partner with the Arewa Consultative Forum to advance the cause of the region and the nation. So, on a final note, this is what he said. This is just quite funny. Anyways, he said the trajectory of the North, however, has been sobering. We began as a region defined by stability, vision, and a deep commitment to building bridges across the ethnic, religious, and geographical divides. But what we have inherited today is a geography scared by insecurity, mistrust, and economic decline. It's all right. Thank God he also acknowledged that insecurity, mistrust, and economic decline has been the order of the day in Nigeria. All right. So on the final note, he said, we cannot afford to allow this curse to fester. We owe our people not only the burden of ending the cycle of killings and destruction that have crippled our communities, but also the duty of ensuring justice for victims of violence and deprivation. So thank God that he also realized that their communities has been crippled. So the vice president of Nigeria is telling us that there is no room for division, that in diversity is our strength. Anyway, I don't really have anything to say, but I want you to do well to drop your comment in the comment section what to think. Now, unfortunately, from what he is saying, some people from the north has also begun a call. In fact, they are calling international community to please come and help them because Nigeria has happened to them over and over and over again. And so they are calling on international community. And what do you think that when international community come, what are they going to do? To pursue Boko Haram? To do what? Anyway, I don't want to talk too much as I say, but I'm just going to allow you to please, I beg you, to listen to this very plea that was made by somebody from that region and see what he is begging the international community to come and do in Nigeria.
Dear President Donald Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu Benjamin of the country of Israel, my name is Apostle Michael Olubokere. I serve in the ministry of an apostle in God's Vineyard here in Nigeria, and I want to crave your indulgence for this message that I'm directly sending to you. To please listen to it carefully, and I trust the Lord is going to speak to your heart to take decisive decisions on how to help us in Nigeria. I'm sure you are aware of all that is happening in Nigeria. I'm very confident that you're not ignorant of them. But I find it necessary because the evil in this country has continued to prevail even to this moment. And if we do nothing about this,
did you know eating garlic
that the destiny of Christians in Nigeria is at stake, and the fate of Christians in Nigeria within the next 20-30 years is not something we can begin to imagine because it is going to be very horrible. This country, this entity called Nigeria, is a combination of different nations that should have existed as nations, but were brought together. So Nigeria is not a combination of different or the amalgamation of different ethnicity. No, it is a combination or the amalgamation of different nations that have different cultures, different understanding, different lifestyle, different traditions, everything different. People that naturally should not exist together were brought together, amalgamated in 1914 by the British for the purpose of resource control. And this unholy marriage has brought a lot of calamity to this nation, Nigeria. This country has known no progress. There's never been unity, there's never been love. Whenever you hear they say one Nigeria, the concept of one Nigeria is a scam, is a mirage, and it is not true. But I'll be speaking basically this morning simply because I am a man that is fed up. Why am I fed up? Because the evil in this nation has prevailed for too long. And I'm afraid that the level we are at this time is not something we can begin to imagine, because these people we live together in this country, these people that force themselves into this nation are working tooth and nail to ensure that they bring Nigeria to an Islamization state, to Islamize and to colonize Nigeria. And this is why it is important this morning that I bring this message to you, so that you will learn, you understand, even though I know you are aware of this before all this, because your nations, the nation of Israel and the nation of United States, are a nation that God has blessed with resources, capacities, and abilities to gather adequate information. So there is nothing I'm saying this morning that I think you are not aware of. In 1908, between 1804 and 1808, a man called Usman Danfodio invaded the northern part of Nigeria long before the amalgamation, invaded through the process of jihad, bringing jihad, Islamization jihad, to Islamize the northern part of Nigeria. And he succeeded, conquered the Hausas and indigenous people of the land, but they were conquered by Usman Danfodio in 1808. And from that conquest, from that invasion, and his victory led to what today you hear of Hausa Fulanis. So the Hausas were completely conquered race, completely conquered ethnicity. They were conquered by Usman Danfodio through Islamization and through the process of jihad. And even though he intended to continue with this process all over the country, he couldn't. But after a while, a man called Afonja, that serves under the Oyo kingdom, the kingdom of Old Oyo, in those days, made a partnership with a man called Malam Alimi, a Fulani man, to help him to fight. And I think the deal was, after the war, he was going to settle down in his land. And that was exactly what happened. And today we have Fulani ethnic in Kwara State. Also, this was all brought about establishment of a caliphate, the Emirates, the caliphate in this northern Nigeria. So where the Sultan now being both the spiritual head and the father figure to all northern Hausa race, Muslim race, or people like that. But this union has brought nothing but chaos. And for a long time, there's been agenda to Islamize this nation, to turn Nigeria to what today we have as a Turkey or to a Lebanon, and those nations that used to be a Christian nation, to turn into a Muslim nation. And what I'm talking to you about this morning, it didn't start 10 years ago, it didn't start 20 years ago, it didn't start 30 years ago. This is something that the ancestors of these people have seen and they have put in motion for the past 40, 50, 60 years in Nigeria, or more than that. And I want to tell you that this time they are succeeding, because the process of jihad is in full. But let me, for clarity's sake, there are different ways nations are being Islamized. They can be Islamized. The process includes, number one, movement. They're moving either by migration. What we have today in Europe and in America by migration, they migrate. And in that state, when they are small, when they are little, they are peaceful. But after a while, they move to the next stage, which is the process of population. They try to keep that as many as possible and invite more people to come and dwell there. But when they have got to a certain number, gaining momentum, population-wise, they move to the third stage, which is the stage of gaining authorities in government. They position themselves strategically in key government positions, and they overwhelm the nation with themselves. And you have almost every sector of the country, or every sector of the country's economy, filled with them, making critical decisions. And this is what you have even in America and some other parts of Europe, most part of Europe, most especially in the UK. Now, when they have done that, the next stage is to enforce laws that permit them to bring to pass or to bring into realizations the agenda of Islamization. And that is when they bring institutionalized Sharia. This stage was achieved in Nigeria between 1999 and 2000, where 12 states in northern Nigeria adopted Sharia as their ruling laws as against the Nigerian constitution. So they bring it together, but predominantly they function by the Sharia law. And this has caused nothing more than chaos. I cannot begin to tell you the amount of lives of Christians that have been lost in this. But my main point today is, few days ago, the people that were displaced in Goza local government, in a village called Ngoshi, have been living as IDP in the border of Cameroon for over 10 years. Were promised by the government to return back to their land. And they returned back two nights ago, and they were all massacred. They were killed. You will see the pictures and the videos down here, sirs. They were killed, they were annihilated, they were beheaded, they were destroyed. Their properties, the village was completely destroyed. Now we have people that are responsible for this, which you know them. The dreadful Boko Haram, then you have the Fulani jihadists that are working tooth and nail to ensure they continue with the mandate of what Usman Danfodio could complete, and to ensure that for one purpose, both Fulani X-Men and the Boko Haram and the Lakarawas and every part of this terrorists are all working towards one goal and one goal alone: to turn Nigeria to an Islamic nation. This is why you find out that Nigeria is a member of OIC, Organization of Islamic Cooperation. Nigeria is supposed to be a secular state based on the constitution of Nigeria. However, this is not the case. Nigeria is more of an Islamic state, or more of like an Islamic nation, than a secular nation, where you have both about 50% Christians and 50% Muslims being the predominantly practiced religions. However, the Christians have been subjugated. There have been genocide every part of this nation, especially in the north and in the middle belt part of Nigeria. The churches have been burned in their thousands and thousands. People, Christians, the vulnerable Christians, locals that are Christians, have been killed in their thousands and thousands. And you think you are the people that have been supporting this this vision. There are people up there, the sultans, the men in government, and we have had many of them, including the late man, Buhari, the President Muhammad Buhari, was part of the people that have been facilitating this stage to ensure they bring the nation of Nigeria on its knees to submit to Islam. And now, they are in the final stage of jihad. This is why you find out that there is killings and killings. I want to tell you, even though we see what is happening presently, what you're doing presently in Iran, the killings and lives that have been lost in Nigeria is 3 times more than what you have in Iran or any part of the world. Nigeria stands today as the most persecuted nation for Christians. Christians have become endangered species. And I'm talking from experience because I've lived, I was born and raised in the North, and I understand these things. And I'm bringing it to your attention this morning because at this time, critical things need to be done. Now, there's a video you're going to see on the screen now. It's a video of soldiers, Nigerian soldiers, that were beheaded a few days ago. They were decapitated, their heads were being used as bow. Look at it there. My question this morning, sirs, is how long will this evil prevail? How long are we going to remain in this stage? The nation of Nigeria have good military men, but lack the political will and the will to fight because the military have been infiltrated by jihadists. The government have been infiltrated by jihadists. Every part of Nigeria is infiltrated by jihadists. And if nothing is done at this time, in 20 years from today, I am afraid that we might not have Christians again in Nigeria. I'm pleading, look at this, the heads of these people here. These are people's brothers, these are people's husbands, this is somebody's son, these are people's sons, these are people's neighbors, these are people's friends. But they were beheaded. Look at. So you will know that we are not one in this nation and we can never be one. How could somebody become an animal to treat his fellow human being this way? How could somebody behave? This is a beastly act. Such people do not deserve to live among men. Therefore, I am calling for you to intercede as soon as possible in Nigeria. 2 things I want to say this morning. Number 1, is either the government of Nigeria permits the citizens to legalize arms. Where the citizens can own arms to protect themselves because the Nigerian government has failed woefully to protect their citizens. The Nigerian military cannot.
If you're hearing these words,
Very little in protecting the citizens. So it's either you make the government of Nigeria to permit that every citizen of this nation, as many as that have the means, obtain a means of defending themselves. Because you see, the right to life is a fundamental human right. And every human has the fundamental right, both before God and before the nation, to protect themselves. So legalize it, talk to the government to repress them. Because the government of Tinubu has sold out the nations to the jihadists, where the government of the nation pays ransom in terms of millions and millions to terrorists. And with this ransom, they have the means to obtain more rifles, more weapons to terrorize Christians. And now, even Muslims alike, those that are moderate Muslims, those that are not adherent to the principles of Sharia, those that do not submit to the principles of Sharia that are Muslims, are even being killed at this time. Because their goal is one, to make Sharia the only law for a nation, for Nigeria, and also to Islamize the nation. So Nigerians must protect themselves. Please make it that the nation of Nigeria can protect themselves, that every citizen, as much as possible, as many as they can own rifle, can own weapon to protect themselves. Or the second option, this nation should divide. Everyone should go their way because you see, there is no time the nation have been one at all. The concept of one Nigeria has been a mirage. It's been forceful. It's been lies from the pit of hell. And this has brought a lot of chaos. Lives have been destroyed in scores. I am pleading with you, President Donald Trump and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, help Nigerians. Come to the rescue of Christians in Nigeria. What you see in Iran is very, very little to what is happening in Nigeria. Every single day, there is hardly a day, hundreds and tens and thousands of Christians are not being killed, especially in the middle belt, in the northern part of Nigeria, and now, even in the southern part of Nigeria, in the southwest, where worshippers in the church have been abducted, kidnapped, and killed. Where churches have become, they have no regard for churches, they go into churches and they kill people. This has been for years, for decades. I'm sure you are aware of everything I'm talking about. But as a concerned Nigerian, and as a man that serves in the vineyard of God, I call upon you this morning. Come to the aid of Nigerians. Rescue this nation from the hands of terrorists, from the hand of jihadists. If you don't do anything at this time, I believe that what you are at the position you are today, because God has placed you there, and I see what you do, and that's why I call you God's servant.
Okay, my people, let me just borrow 1 or 2 minutes of your time to address this issue from this man of God, the prophet of God, the one that of Trafancha. You see, when we talk about the scam in Christendom, some people will call us Antichrist and stand against us. Okay, we have a God, according to the Bible, according to Christianity, we have a God who's supposed to fight our battle. Now, this is the time we need that our God most. The Muslims, whom we the Christians refer to as infidels, are massacring the Christians in numbers. Now, instead of this pastor now to call on God, the same God whom he teaches his members that God is going to save them. I'm not saying there's no God, do not get it twisted. Now he's calling on a human being to come and save the people of God. How far now? I beg, help me connect the dots. I didn't say anything. It's just a honest observation. Have a nice day. I'm a regular control to bless us all. Let's see what happens as this day goes by.